Today we're diving into one of the most surprising political moves in recent European history, Denmark's bold decision that has thrown the entire European Union into confusion, tension, and intense debate. What happened, why it matters, and how it could reshape the future of Europe are the questions we're going to break down in clear, simple words. So sit tight, because this situation is unfolding faster than anyone expected, and the implications are far bigger than they first appear. For years, Denmark has been known as a stable, balanced, and cooperative EU member. It rarely takes sudden, controversial steps on its own, especially steps that challenge the broader direction of the Union. That's why this latest move has left European analysts stunned. Many leaders were caught off guard, and even more are still trying to figure out what Denmark's real strategy is. This wasn't something quietly whispered behind closed doors or hinted through diplomatic leaks. This was a direct, public, and deliberate action that instantly created ripple effects across the continent. To understand the chaos this has sparked, we need to look at the wider political climate in Europe. The EU has been dealing with a series of new pressures: economic uncertainty, disputes over migration rules, increasing energy costs, security concerns, and a rise in nationalist politics in several member states. This environment is already fragile, and any sudden move by a member country can act like a spark landing in a dry forest. Denmark's decision wasn't just a spark. It was more like a loud, unexpected thunderclap that made every capital city in Europe turn its head. What makes the situation even more complicated is that Denmark chose to take this step without waiting for approval, alignment, or consensus from other EU partners. Normally, the EU functions through long, slow negotiations. Member states are encouraged to move together, maintain unity, and prevent disruptions. But Denmark broke this rhythm, and the shock comes not only from the move itself, but from the confidence with which it was presented. Some analysts say Denmark has reached a point where it feels the EU is no longer adapting fast enough to the new realities of Europe. Others believe Denmark wanted to send a message that national interest must sometimes take priority over EU-wide agreements. The reaction from Brussels was immediate. Officials expressed concern, confusion, and in some cases outright frustration. Several EU member states have criticized Denmark for acting unilaterally. Others, however, are quietly watching with interest, wondering if Denmark just did something they themselves have been considering, but never dared to attempt. This is where the chaos deepens, because once one country breaks from the traditional cooperative path, it becomes easier for others to do the same. The move has also started a long list of questions about the future direction of the EU. If Denmark's decision proves effective or beneficial, could more countries follow? Could this create a chain reaction that weakens overall EU unity? Or will Denmark face backlash strong enough to discourage others from stepping out of line? These are the questions that officials across Europe are debating behind closed doors. And for now, no one has clear answers. One of the most interesting aspects of this situation is the timing. Europe is already dealing with economic pressures, disagreements about how to handle external threats, and internal disputes about migration and energy policy. Denmark's decision landed right in the middle of all this. Many are wondering whether Denmark planned this timing strategically or simply acted based on internal political pressure. Either way, the shockwaves across the EU are real and immediate. Public reaction within Denmark has been mixed but energetic. Some citizens are proud that their government took a firm stand, believing Denmark has been too passive for too long. Others are worried that this bold move may lead to diplomatic isolation or economic consequences. The public debate is growing, and European media outlets are covering every angle of the story, analyzing each statement, each response, and each political ripple. Another major question is how this decision will impact Denmark's relationships with powerful EU countries like Germany and France. These two nations often act as the driving engine behind EU decisions and policies. If Denmark's move challenges their leadership or disrupts their plans, the diplomatic consequences could be significant. So far, early statements from both Germany and France express disappointment, but also an interest in further dialogue. That usually means they're still assessing the situation, gathering information, and deciding how firmly they want to respond. Meanwhile, other countries in Northern and Eastern Europe are monitoring the situation closely. Some have similar internal concerns or disagreements with broader EU policies. Denmark's action may inspire them, strengthen their positions, or encourage them to negotiate more aggressively with Brussels. This is why many analysts believe this moment could mark the beginning of a new political chapter in Europe, one where member states push harder for flexibility and national control. While the political leaders debate, the EU economic sector is also reacting. Markets dislike uncertainty, and Denmark's move has created plenty. Financial analysts are tracking possible consequences for trade agreements, investment decisions, and cross-border cooperation. Economic stability has always been one of the strongest pillars of the European Union. Any disruption to that stability can lead to concerns from investors, businesses, and international partners watching from outside Europe. One of the clearest signs of the growing tension is the sudden increase in emergency meetings within the EU. Committees, ministers, and advisors are gathering to examine Denmark's move from every possible angle. They're studying the legal aspects, assessing the political risks, and preparing scenarios for how the EU should respond. Some leaders want a firm, strong reaction to set an example. Others want to avoid escalating the situation. This split in opinion only adds to the confusion and chaos. Denmark, however, seems to be standing confidently behind its decision. Its leaders say the move was necessary, justified, and long overdue. They argue that the EU cannot continue operating under outdated systems and slow decision-making processes. They emphasize that Denmark remains committed to cooperation, but needs the freedom to act when national interests are at stake. Whether this explanation will calm other EU members or ignite further disagreement is still unclear. Meanwhile, international observers outside Europe are watching with great interest. Countries like the United States, China, and those in the Middle East are monitoring how the EU responds. A strong and united EU benefits some global powers, while a divided EU benefits others. Denmark's move has therefore grabbed global attention, not just European headlines. This moment may also influence future elections within EU countries. When people see one country take a stand, it can inspire debates at home. Political parties may use Denmark's action to push their own agendas, whether calling for more independence from Brussels or demanding stronger unity. The timing of this situation means it could shape political campaigns, voter opinions, and EU-wide discussions for months or even years. Although the situation is still unfolding, one thing is absolutely clear. Denmark's decision has forced Europe into a moment of deep reflection. It has exposed tensions that were quietly growing beneath the surface. It has challenged the idea that the EU is completely unified in direction and purpose. And it has shown that even smaller nations can shift the political balance when they act boldly. Whether this move creates long-term chaos, temporary disruption, or meaningful reform is something only time will reveal. But what we are witnessing right now is a historic moment where one country's choice has shaken the foundations of an entire political union. As we continue to follow this situation, the world will be watching how Europe responds. Will the EU adapt, compromise, and find common ground? Or will Denmark's bold step encourage others to break from tradition and pursue their own paths? This moment could redefine the future of European cooperation. Thank you for watching, and if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more updates on global events and political shifts. The situation is still changing, so stay tuned for more analysis as new details emerge.